I got a gun put in my face and everything. And me personally, I don't appreciate that at all. It was several of us that got detained for some hours. I'm not the only one. And we asked them what was going on, and they didn't answer us.
Yesterday, it was Brighton Park, where masked ICE agents in military gear with military weapons shot a woman's car up on Kedzie and 40th Street. Last week, they choked a black man on the west side and stormed our community in a military-style raid.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? I got some old messed up news for y'all. These young thugs in Chicago catching hell. They thought it was all about immigration, but a lot of these fools look like they immigrants. They might be Haitian, Jamaican, or African. We just don't know. Now they trying to make it a law to where if they fathers don't come forward to claim these bastards, they can get sent to the Dominican Republic of the Congo. Black people catching hell in Chicago. It's so bad to where the whole city had to file a lawsuit.
The state of Illinois is suing the president and his administration to stop the deployment of the military to Chicago. This comes after a federal judge blocked the administration from deploying any federal troops to Portland, Oregon. Let's turn now to CBS News Justice correspondent Scott McFarlane for much more on this. Scott, thank you for your time today. Can you take us through these rulings and what could come next for Oregon and Illinois?
Amid all these disputes, there's one unifying thread. We are in a golden era of legal filings by the tonnage. You can print enough paper to keep up with what's going on in the federal courthouses in America, in part because of these National Guard challenges. Federal judge in Oregon, appointed by President Trump during Trump's first term, late last night, ruled that you can't send out-of-state National Guard troops to Portland lawfully either. So it's not just the Oregon National Guard that she has blocked, but also the deployment of the California National Guard to Portland, or potentially the Texas National Guard to Portland. She refers to her earlier ruling in which she said it's unlawful to deploy the Guard in this way under these circumstances. So for 2 weeks now, any further deployments, or really any deployments of the National Guard there, are on hold. It's a 2-week pause. Now in Illinois, where the president has suggested, if not begun the process of deploying National Guard troops to Chicago and the Chicagoland area, there's a legal challenge by the state of Illinois to try to have a federal judge there block or at least pause the deployment of Guard troops. These types of legal challenges, add them to the pile of hundreds of legal challenges filed so far in the first year of the president's second term.
I don't know if these reports are true, but they're claiming that they made 800 arrests in Chicago in the immigration blitz, and helicopters was out there in the midnight sky. And at nighttime, you can't tell black people and Mexicans apart. It's a bunch of brothers on their way to Mexico right now, and they don't even know no Spanish. The craziest rumor I heard is about them raiding an apartment, and it was 100 YNs in a 1-bedroom apartment. Maybe they better off being deported. They planning on building Watermelon Alcatraz, and it's only gonna take 2 days to build. And even after all of that, Stephen Miller posting again.
Yeah. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, he posted on X earlier today. He said there's no legal distinction between a state volunteering guardsmen to guard the border and volunteering guardsmen to guard a federal immigration facility. Either we have a federal government, a supremacy clause, and a nation, or we don't. So, Scott, what does Miller mean by that? And what does that mean for similar legal fights going forward, including this newest lawsuit by the state of Illinois?
Well, there'd be any number of responses from critics of the administration to what Stephen Miller says there, but I think the primary one is he is equating the southern border, where in so many cases the National Guard has had a regular presence, or at least an invited presence by Republican governors, with cities across America where there is opposition to the president, including from local leadership, where the Guard has not been invited, and where unambiguously they have argued the Guard is not needed. In Portland's mayor and the governor of Oregon so successfully argued that the Guard is not needed, that local law enforcement is more than up for the task of handling any unrest. The federal judge noted it as part of the ruling and the opinion there. There is going to be more of these flashpoints that surface. There will be more legal challenges. It's a matter of where, not if, according to so many critics.
It's so funny to me how people acting like they concerned for the residents of Chicago when they know good and damn well they happy that Trump taking action. This city got the nickname Chirac, It got the reputation of a third world country in America. Some had to go down to establish law and order, but people don't like the way it's going down, and I understand that. But for the people that don't live in Chicago acting like y'all give a damn, y'all phony. The only thing Chicago got going on is that deep dish pizza, and in my opinion, you better off making the spaghetti. The National Guard don't zip tie them kids, and they putting hands on females too.
And we are hearing tonight from a Chicago woman, a U.S. citizen, who says she was handcuffed by ICE agents before being detained for hours during a middle-of-the-night raid in South Shore earlier this week. As Scott Schneider reports, congressional leaders are hoping her story further unites the city as immigration action throughout Chicago has taken a violent turn in recent days.
But this is how you trash a building. Residents were terrorized. Children have been crying. Children were thrown on the ground, zip tied. We're not going to go in there. And now this building has been vacated.
Days after ICE agents conducted a late-night military-style raid on a South Shore apartment building, congressional lawmakers offered the press a tour inside. On the same day, Governor J.B. Pritzker told a national audience that the search for a few criminals quickly turned into a siege.
They were going after a few gang members, and instead they broke windows, they broke down doors, they ransacked the place, and there were people that were held, elderly people and children zip-tied.
Patricia Fisher is among the handful of U.S. citizens to be detained during the South Shore raid. Handcuffed and thrown into a van for hours, she's still searching for answers.
I got a gun put in my face and everything. And me personally, I don't appreciate that at all. It was several of us that got detained for some hours. I'm not the only one. And we asked them what was going on, and they didn't answer us.
Lawmakers are vowing to unite the city against any and all immigration enforcement as the temperature throughout Chicagoland continues to rise.
Yesterday, it was Brighton Park, where masked ICE agents in military gear with military weapons shot a woman's car up on Kedzie and 40th Street. Last week, they choked a black man on the west side and stormed our community in a military-style raid. Let's be clear. ICE is not about safety. ICE is about control and sowing fear amongst our people.
All of this happening as the arrival of federalized National Guard troops in Chicago appears to be a foregone conclusion.
Kristi Noem has proudly gone on TV yesterday and said, Chicago, get ready because the Department of War is coming to Chicago, an American city. A cabinet leader has declared war on American city. If that is not treason, then what is?
Reporting in South Shore, Scott Schneider, Fox 32, Chicago.
Who gonna benefit at the end of all of this? Let's be real. Who y'all think gonna get the big check? Y'all think they gonna send some money to the black community after all this stuff going on in Chicago? They putting emphasis on immigrants, so y'all know when it's time for a big payout, black people ain't gonna get paid. I know some brothers out there chilling. They standing on the corner selling dope while Poppy running from the National Guard with his drawers on. But what really tripped me out is they zip-tied the kids and said, F them kids. They cold-blooded for that.
We are getting new reports about a chilling and downright shocking escalation of ICE tactics against the residents of Chicago. In the middle of the night, hundreds of armed federal agents and police backed up by riot trucks, smoke grenades, and helicopters, breached fences and busted doors in an immigration raid on an entire apartment building on the city's south side. They pulled dozens of residents from their homes and zip ties, including children, some of them without any clothes. They then held some outside for hours and dragged the others into rented vans.
It was scary because I've never had a gun put in my face.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they heard several flashbangs go off.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
They zip tied the kids together. ICE put out a statement saying they were pursuing Trinidad gang members But U.S. citizens living in the building say they were detained too. The cops told them that if they had any unrelated warrants, they wouldn't be going back home. 37 people were ultimately arrested after agents separated children from their parents on the street. And if you're looking at this and asking yourself, how is this legal? That is the right question to ask. And it has kind of an answer. And to understand it, you have to go back to Los Angeles this summer, where federal immigration agents started pushing the envelope on orders from the White House. They raided Home Depot parking lots and Walmart lots, and they grabbed people they saw. Near one Home Depot, masked agents with batons grabbed Narcisco Barranco, who has lived in the U.S. for more than 30 years and has 3 sons serving in the Marine Corps. Agents beat Barranco on the ground, dislocating his shoulder before detaining him. In Van Nuys, agents raided a car wash, remembering this, sending patrons and workers scrambling before the 79-year-old owner, who is a U.S. citizen named Rafi, tried to ask them what they were doing.
That is when Rafi was taken down by agents and eventually handcuffed. Rafi says he was injured in the process.
And they sit on me. This is my elbow since a week ago. And this is my arm.
Rafi says he and 5 others at his car wash were taken to a federal detention center downtown. We're still working to learn more about why they were detained.
And that man is not alone.
Look how you got my hand. You're twisting that. I'm American, bro. Yo, these guys are literally based off of skin color. My homie was born here just because of the way he looks.
They need to stop talking like that. Craig and Day not gonna come and translate for them. They better get with the program and speak proper English. Instead of Ebonics, what you call it, Hesponics? Like Trump said, English is the American language. You ain't gotta learn Spanish if you don't want to. Not in this country. It ain't gonna be necessary, but it's gonna be necessary for them to quit using all them S's. And I got love for my SAs out there, all my Spanish people, especially y'all Spanish women out there. I ain't got nothing but love for y'all. But people need to act right when they're in America. Say your ERs and cut that music down.
Agents kept stopping people they suspected of being undocumented immigrants for no reason other than they weren't obviously white. Like Brian Gavidia, the man you saw there, the 29-year-old American. He wasn't arrested, but he says agents went through his phone for 20 minutes and kept his real ID card. Now, these are obvious violations of people's core constitutional civil rights, their right to equal protection and the freedom from unlawful searches and seizures. And victims filed a class action lawsuit. And after an entire bench trial, a federal judge sided with those victims and ended the ICE sweeps. And in her ruling, she wrote, "It is illegal to conduct roving patrols which identify people based upon race alone, aggressively question them, and then detain them without a warrant, without their consent, and without reasonable suspicion that they are with status." Yes, it is. Yes, it is. An appeals court upheld her injunction against ICE. You have to stop doing this. And so the Trump administration took the issue to the Supreme Court. And lo and behold, last month, the court's 6-3 conservative majority voted to just let Trump and ICE continue for now, as the case works its way up, to use racial profiling in their immigration raids, halting the lower court's decision, saying, go ahead. Now, they gave no reasoning or explanation for their decision, silent, except Justice Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote a short concurring opinion saying there's absolutely no problem whatsoever with racially motivated stops by law enforcement. Quote, "If the officers learn the individual they stopped is a U.S. citizen or otherwise lawfully in the U.S., they promptly let the individual go." Welcome to the era of what critics call the Kavanaugh stop. Carte blanche for ICE to continue violent, warrantless raids and stops all over the country to undocumented immigrants, lawful residents, and American citizens alike. Like Leonardo Garcia Venegas. You see him there, being cuffed roughly by ICE agents on a construction site where he was working. Vargas showed the agents his real ID as proof of citizenship, and they told him he was lying. And it took hours to get him out of custody, so not exactly expeditious. And then, get this, 2 weeks later, ICE arrested him again at another work site. He's now suing the government. The consequence of all this is what we're seeing now in the dead of night in Chicago. Dozens of federal agents raiding an entire apartment building with kids in it just to see what they can find. It's the most egregious abuse of our basic rights as Americans I've seen in a long time, maybe my lifetime. And it comes 2 weeks after Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem posted a hype video of another violent ICE raid with helicopters and grenades, this time on a house in the Chicago suburbs. And guess what? 2 U.S. citizens were mistakenly arrested. You know, there's a reason the American founders put the right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures in the Bill of Rights from the start. Masked secret police profiling people and now targeting entire apartment buildings, making everyone prove they're not guilty of something, is the province of tyrants. It is the opposite of American. And I don't think Americans will stand for it, nor should they.
I don't know what he talking about. Americans trying to get that money. National Guards getting 50 G's up front. No wonder they so aggressive. You probably get another 10 G's for every person you snatch up off the street. Now they out there in Chicago picking niggas like strawberries. Don't you bring your fat ass out that Chipotle's with a burrito in your hand. They might think you an immigrant. Give me 50 G's up front and see how fast I hog tie a motherfucker in the middle of the street. I don't give a damn where you from. Money talk and immigrants walk back to their country unless they trying to get in that ICE ban. The choice is yours. Money is more important than water. I guarantee you no American civilians gonna step in and try to do anything about this.
It has been a quiet day here in Broadview with just a handful of protesters hanging around the area today, as now the focus turns to what this facility and other parts of Chicago will look like when the National Guard arrives. We heard from elected officials and residents today who say they just feel like that President Trump is inflicting war on Chicago. The Department of Defense has officially authorized a mission for the Illinois National Guard to be deployed to Chicago. An Illinois official tells ABC News that 300 National Guard members will need a few days to mobilize and train before possibly arriving to the city by the end of the week. Today, local elected officials speaking out against those plans, saying this is an unnecessary use of military deployment.
It's never been about safety. You know that. It's never been about security. Donald Trump doesn't care if Chicago thrives. He wants to destroy our city.
Governor J.B. Pritzker announced late tonight that 400 Texas National Guard members will also be deployed to multiple states across the country, including some personnel coming to Illinois. He shared a statement saying, in part, "We must now start calling this what it is, Trump's invasion. It started with federal agents. It will soon include deploying federalized members of the Illinois National Guard against our wishes, and it will now involve sending in another state's military troops." Meanwhile, President Trump discussed those plans for Chicago at Naval Station Norfolk in Virginia today during a celebration for the Navy's 250th anniversary.
We're going to Chicago. You know, we have a governor that thinks it's wonderful when 50 people in a short period of time were murdered in Chicago. Over 200 people were hit. And so we send in the National Guard. You know what? We send in what's ever necessary.
The Illinois National Guard is being deployed to Chicago under Title X authorities, which means they can only be used to protect federal buildings or employees and cannot be used for law enforcement. People who have been protesting at the ICE facility in Broadview say they're worried about the show of force that continues to come from the Trump administration.
It's an appalling use of the people who swore an oath to defend us. I hope that they do that. I hope that they do defend us.
Mayor Brandon Johnson is also speaking out today against the use of military personnel in Chicago as he addressed a crowd at an event hosted by Care Chicago.
What is coming from our federal government is absolutely abhorrent. It is the act of authoritarianism at a time in which our world desperately needs for us to come together.
Now, we just received a statement from Texas Governor Greg Abbott in the last few minutes saying, in part, I fully authorize the president to call up 400 members of the Texas National Guard to ensure safety for federal officials. You can either fully enforce protection for federal employees or get out of the way and let Texas Guard do it. Now, that comes as we also just heard from the Illinois Attorney General, who says President Trump's deployment of the National Guard is unlawful. They plan to file a lawsuit within 24 hours.
Hey, I need y'all to do me a favor out there. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that Cash App too, $ Sean Blaze Docs. But what part about illegal don't people understand? Illegal is illegal, and I feel bad for people getting deported and everything, but hell, you gotta play by the rules. You can't be in a whole nother country breaking the law and expect for everything to be all right. You breaking the law. They need to make it easy for people to become citizens, because there's a lot of people that come over to America and do a whole lot of good. do more good than the people that was born and raised in America a lot of times. They appreciate America a lot better than homegrown Americans. But at the same time, right is right and wrong is wrong. There's a whole lot of rights and wrongs in America, but one thing for sure, Trump ain't playing. Y'all gotta let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section. Black people catching hell too. This ain't just about immigrants. Black people getting their head bust in Chicago as well, and I don't like it. I wish there was a way they could do this without being violent. And it's a possibility all this aggression that they using might just make things worse. All I can say is pray for America. God bless America. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Leave a voicemail, leave a text message, do something, leave a cash app. And one more thing before I go.
Subscribe to my channel if that's what you want, but if that's not what you like, then you must be a punk. Hold on now, here we go. Who is this girl? She got that junk in her trunk. Baby girl, back it up, poke out your rump. It's S.A.T that you want, and my music hit so hard, make you say, oh my.